The heavy, gold-encrusted heel of Elara's shoe
That is the only
descended onto the
currency a
withered hand of the
flea-ridden
beggar
dog
woman
like you
with a
deserves from
sickening
the house of a
crunch.
chief.
Instead of an apology, Elara tilted her chin toward the scorching sun and let out a loud, mocking blast of flatulence directly into the old woman's face, laughing as the village square fell into a horrified silence. That, Elara sneered, is the only currency a flea-ridden dog like you deserves from the house of a chief. She didn't see the beggar's milky eyes turn into twin pits of obsidian, nor did she hear the low, rhythmic hum that began to vibrate the very ground beneath her feet. Welcome to our channel, where the shadows of the past meet the lessons of the future. Before we dive into this harrowing tale of pride and its pungent price, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a story. We'd love to know where in the world you are watching from. Drop your country in the comments below. Now, let us return to the dust-choked streets of Omaligwe, where a storm was brewing in the gut of the girl who thought she was a goddess. Elara was the only daughter of Chief Kalu, a man whose wealth was measured in endless hectares of palm oil plantations and a fleet of imported cars that looked like silver beetles in the African mud. He had raised Elara to believe the world was her footstool. As she walked away from the injured beggar, her silk dress fluttering, she felt a strange, hot prickle at the base of her spine. It wasn't pain, it was a pulse. "Elara, wait!" her friend Adama called out, running to catch up. "That woman, she is Ma Ugoma. They say she has walked these lands since the great drought. You shouldn't have done that. Just give her a coin and ask for peace." Elara stopped, her eyes flashing with a dangerous, spoiled fire. "Peace? I am the daughter of Kalu. I don't ask for peace from hags. I grant them the privilege of breathing my air. If she touches my shoes again, I'll have my father's guards throw her into the river." Just as the word river left her lips, a sound like a thunderclap ripped through the air. It wasn't from the sky, it was from Elara. The force of the involuntary expulsion was so violent it nearly lifted her off her feet. It wasn't a normal sound, it carried a deep metallic resonance that echoed off the mud walls of the nearby huts. Then came the smell, a thick, sulphurous rot that made Adama gag and cover her face. "Elara!" Adama gasped, backing away. What was that?" Elara's face went from porcelain pale to a deep, bruised purple. "It was nothing, a stomach upset. Move, get away from me." She turned to run, but with every step of her haughty retreat, another blast sounded. Boom, boom, boom. It was rhythmic, timed perfectly to her heartbeat. The faster she ran in her pride, the louder the curse announced her presence. By the time she reached her father's mansion, the entire marketplace was whispering. Chief Kalu was sitting on his veranda, sipping imported cognac, when his daughter burst through the gates. "Papa, Papa, something is wrong," she wailed, throwing herself at his feet. "My princess, what is it?" Kalu laughed, reaching down to pat her head. "Did the jeweler run out of gold? Did the seamstress prick your finger?" "No, Papa, a witch, an old woman cursed me." Kalu's laughter boomed, shaking his heavy belly. "Cursed? In this modern age? My daughter, you've been reading too many old scrolls. You probably just ate some bad street food. You know I told you not to eat like the commoners." Thud! Pop! The sound was so loud it knocked a crystal glass off the side table, shattering it. The stench hit Kalu like a physical blow. He recoiled, his face twisting in disgust. "By the ancestors, Elara, what is that? Did a sewer pipe burst?" "It's the curse, Papa. Every time I speak or feel my anger, it happens." Kalu hesitated, then shook his head, his ego refusing to accept a spiritual threat. "Nonsense. It's a gastric issue. We will send for the best doctors in the city. Money fixes everything, Elara. Dry your tears. You are a Kalu. We do not bow to superstitions." But the night proved Kalu wrong. At dinner, Elara tried to berate a servant for bringing the soup too cold. "You useless, clumsy—" Bang! The explosion was so powerful, it blew the candles out on the dining table. The servant dropped the tray and fled, screaming that the devil had taken residence in the chief's daughter. Her mother, Lolo Neka, sat at the far end of the table, her face a mask of cold disappointment. She didn't offer a hug or a prayer. "This is your harvest, Kalu," she said, her voice cutting through the lingering odor. "You planted a seed of arrogance, and now it is blooming in the most foul way possible. I told you to discipline her. Now the spirits are doing it for you." "Be quiet, woman," Kalu roared. Crack! Boom! Elara's body betrayed her father's command. The sound was so sharp, it felt like a slap to her dignity. She bolted to her room, locking the door, but the curse followed her even into sleep. Every time she dreamt of her own superiority, the room echoed with the sounds of her shame. The next morning, Kalu summoned a renowned native doctor, a man draped in leopard skins and smelling of ancient herbs. He was called Dibia Obosi. He walked around Elara, shaking a gourd filled with teeth and stones. "It is a simple fix," Elara snapped at the medicine man. "Just give me the potion and get out. You smell of goats." Obosi stopped. He looked at her with pity. "Young mistress, the medicine is not for your stomach, it is for your soul. Take this charm, wear it around your waist, but listen well. The charm only works if you speak words of honey. If you speak words of salt, the charm will shatter." Elara snatched the leather pouch. "Whatever, just fix it." She tied it on and felt a momentary sense of relief. She felt powerful again. She decided to go for a walk to prove she was cured. In the village square, she saw Amara, a girl whose family lived in a small hut near the stream. Amara was wearing a beautiful, hand-woven shawl. "Look at you," Elara sneered, the charm forgotten, "wearing rags and calling it fashion. You look like a bundle of dried sticks." The leather pouch at her waist didn't just shatter, it exploded into dust. Kaboom! The blast was so loud, it sounded like a gunshot. Amara fell back in terror. Elara stood there, her expensive lace dress stained by the invisible force of the curse, the smell of rotting vegetables engulfing her. The village children gathered, pointing and laughing. "The farting princess, the spinky queen," they chanted. "Shut up, all of you, shut up!" Elara screamed, but with every scream, the curse replied with a louder, more rhythmic cadence. She was trapped in a symphony of her own making. Months passed. Elara became a prisoner in her own home. The doctors from the city came with their stethoscopes and their pills. They ran tests, they checked her diet, they looked for tumors. "There is nothing physically wrong with her," the lead doctor said, sweating through his lab coat. "The sound, it doesn't even come from the bowels. It's as if the air itself is vibrating around her. This is not medicine, Kalu. This is something else." Social isolation set in like a cold winter. No one visited. The servants wore masks when they entered her room. Elara spent her days staring at the wall, her beauty fading under the weight of her bitterness. She blamed everyone, the beggar, her mother, the native doctor, the villagers. And because she blamed everyone, the curse never gave her a moment of silence. Then came Jide. Jide was an architect who had just returned from years of study in London. He was handsome, soft-spoken, and wealthy in his own right. He had heard the stories, but he didn't believe in village gossip. He visited the chief on business, but when he saw Elara sitting lonely on the balcony, her eyes red from crying, he felt something no one else had felt for her in months. "You are Elara," he said, standing at the base of the stairs. "Go away," she croaked, "unless you want to be insulted," and then gasped. Jide laughed, a warm, melodic sound. "I've seen the world, Elara. I've seen things more frightening than a little wind. May I sit with you?" "I'm cursed, you fool. Didn't they tell you?" "They told me you were a girl who lost her way," Jide replied, stepping up. For a moment, Elara felt a flicker of warmth. She wanted to be nice. She really did.
But then she looked at Jide's clean, polished shoes, and compared them to the dusty floor of her balcony. "Your shoes are tacky," she snapped, her old habits rising like bile. Pop! A small, sharp sound escaped. The smell followed. Jide didn't flinch. He didn't laugh. He simply pulled out a handkerchief, covered his nose for a second until the air cleared, and then sat down. "You didn't mean that. You said it because you're afraid. You use your tongue like a shield, but it's becoming your cage." Elara was stunned. No one had ever seen through her. Over the next few weeks, Jide kept coming back. He brought her books and music. He told her about the world beyond the village. He treated her like a human being, not a monster or a princess. For the first time in her life, Elara began to feel a different kind of heartbeat. She began to look forward to his visits. "I will marry you, Elara," Jide announced one evening in front of her shocked parents. "I will take you to the city. We will find a way to break this. I don't care about the noise. I care about the girl who is hiding behind it." Chief Kalu was overjoyed. He saw it as a way to offload his problem daughter. But Lolo Neka just watched from the shadows, her eyes narrow. "The city doesn't wash away a curse, Jide. Only the heart can do that." The climax of their courtship was the annual Harvest Gala, a grand event held at the regional governor's mansion. Jide insisted Elara go. "Show them you aren't afraid," he urged. Elara was terrified. She wore a dress of midnight blue, laced with silver threads. She looked stunning. For the first hour, she remained silent, nodding politely, clutching Jide's arm. She was winning. She was holding it back. But then she saw Adama, her former friend, draped in diamonds and laughing with a group of socialites. "Look at Elara," she whispered, loud enough for the circle to hear. "I wonder if she brought an air freshener as her +1. The circle erupted in giggles. Elara felt the heat rise. Her blood began to boil. She turned to Adama, her face contorting into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. "You little gutter rat," Elara hissed. "You're only here because your father sold his soul to the..." The explosion was catastrophic. It wasn't just a sound, it was a shock wave. It shattered a nearby champagne tower. The smell was so concentrated, so vile that people began to vomit. The music stopped. The governor stared in horror. Elara stood in the center of the wreckage, the blue dress now a symbol of her ultimate humiliation. Jide grabbed her hand and pulled her out, but as they reached the car, he let go. He looked at her, and for the first time there was no compassion in his eyes. There was only exhaustion. "I can't do this, Elara," he whispered. "Jide, no, you said you loved me." "I love the woman I thought you were becoming, but you choose this. You choose the hate, you choose the pride. I stood by you while the world laughed, but I will not stand by you while you destroy yourself and everyone around you. I'm going back to the city, alone." He got into the car and drove away, leaving Elara standing in the dust of the driveway. The silence that followed was the loudest thing she had ever heard. If you are enjoying this journey into Elara's transformation, please take a moment to like the video. It really helps the channel. And tell us, do you think Jide was right to leave her? Let us know in the comments. Elara didn't go home. She walked. She walked until her silver heels broke, and then she walked barefoot. She walked until she reached the outskirts of the village, near the old well where she had first encountered the beggar. She sat on the cold stone, shivering. A security guard, an old man named Ojo, who worked the night shift at the nearby granary, approached her. He didn't know who she was in the dark. He only saw a girl in a torn dress weeping. "It is cold, daughter," Ojo said, offering a tattered wool blanket. "Here, take this." Elara looked at the blanket. It was dirty. It smelled of tobacco and old age. Old Elara would have spat on it. New Elara, the broken Elara, looked at Ojo's calloused hands. She saw the kindness in the deep lines of his face. "Thank you," she whispered, "but I don't deserve your kindness. I am a foul person." "We are all foul sometimes," Ojo said, "but the rain washes the earth and tears wash the soul. Eat some of my bread. It's heavy in the stomach." Elara took the bread. She ate it with him in silence. For the first time in her life, she felt a sense of connection that didn't involve power or money. She felt like a human being. And as she sat there, she realized she hadn't made a sound in hours. The air remained clear. The next morning, Elara began her pilgrimage of penance. She didn't ask her father for money. She went to the village stream and helped the old women carry their heavy water pots. When they looked at her with suspicion, she didn't snap. She simply bowed her head and said, "Let me help you, Mama." She went to Amara's house. She knelt in the dirt outside the small hut. "Amara, I am sorry. I was a fool who thought gold made me better than you. Please forgive me." Amara came out, shocked to see the princess in the dust. She saw the sincerity in Elara's eyes and reached down to pull her up. "The smell is gone, Elara," Amara whispered. "The smell doesn't matter anymore," Elara replied. "I just want to be whole." Finally, she sought out the beggar woman, Ma Ugoma. She found her sitting under the same baobab tree. She didn't just give her a coin. She brought a warm meal she had cooked herself and a new pair of sturdy shoes. She knelt before the woman and took her feet in her hands, washing the dust away from a water bowl. "I humiliated you," Elara said with her voice trembling. "I treated you like a dog. I am so deeply sorry." The old woman leaned forward, her milky eyes now clear and bright. She touched Elara's forehead. "The curse was never in your body, child. It was the sound of your heart breaking through the walls of your pride. You have found the silence of humility." As Elara looked up, the old woman began to shimmer like heat haze. In a blink she was gone, leaving only the scent of jasmine and fresh rain. That night, Elara fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. She dreamt of a garden where every flower sang a different note. The old woman appeared one last time, dressed in robes of pure light. "You are free, Elara," she said, "not because you are perfect, but because you are kind." Elara woke up to the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. It was Jide. He had come to collect the last of his things, but when he saw Elara standing on the veranda, helping a servant plant flowers, he stopped. There was a radiance about her that had nothing to do with jewelry. "Elara?" he called out. She turned and smiled. It was a soft, genuine smile. "I don't expect you to stay, Jide," she said. "I just wanted to say thank you. You were the first person who loved the girl inside the noise." Jide walked up to her. He took a deep breath. The air was sweet. He laughed and pulled her into a hug. "I think I'd like to hear that girl's story, all of it." The wedding of Elara and Jide was the greatest celebration Omaligwe had ever seen. But it wasn't the wealth that people talked about. It was the way the bride stopped the procession to hug a beggar, and the way she looked at every person, rich or poor, with the same level of respect. But here is the big twist, the one the villagers still whispered about late at night. Years later, Elara and Jide had a daughter. She was beautiful, but she was also a bit headstrong. One day, the little girl was rude to a servant, sticking her tongue out in a fit of pique. Elara took her daughter aside and told her the story of the curse. "Remember, my love, your words create the world you live in." As the little girl nodded, a soft, tiny pop sounded from her. It didn't smell like rot, it smelled like a warning. Elara realized then that the curse wasn't a punishment, it was a guardian. It was a gift passed down to ensure that their bloodline would never again lose its way in the darkness of pride. The witch hadn't just changed Elara, she had protected all the daughters to come. What would you do if every time you were mean, the world knew it instantly? Would you be able to change, or would you hide away? This story reminds us that our true character is what remains when the finery is stripped away. If you found this story powerful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the heart of folklore. Until next time, stay humble and stay kind. Would you like me to tell you the story of what happened when Elara's daughter grew up?